The conquest of the Aztec Empire by the Spanish conquistadors, led by Hernán Cortés, is one of the most significant and transformative events in the history of the Americas. This dramatic encounter between two vastly different worlds not only led to the fall of a mighty empire, but also set the stage for the establishment of Spanish colonial rule in the New World. The encounter between Hernán Cortés and the Aztec Empire in 1519 was not just a clash of armies, but a collision of worlds. This pivotal moment in history was characterized by a mix of curiosity, diplomacy, and strategic maneuvering. Upon landing on the Mexican coast, Cortés and his men encountered various indigenous groups, marking the beginning of a complex cultural exchange. These early interactions were a blend of mutual fascination and apprehension, setting the tone for the events that followed. Moctezuma II, the Aztec emperor, responded to the arrival of the Spaniards with a mix of intrigue and caution. He sent emissaries with gifts, aiming to gauge the intentions of these foreign visitors. Moctezuma's approach reflected a blend of diplomatic acumen and adherence to Aztec prophecies, which influenced his perception of Cortés and his men. Cortés, recognizing the significance of Moctezuma's belief in omens and prophecy, skillfully manipulated these beliefs to his advantage. This psychological warfare, coupled with the Spaniards' advanced military technology, created an aura of power around the Spanish forces. Forming strategic alliances with indigenous groups who were hostile to the Aztecs, such as the Tlaxcalans, was a critical move by Cortés. These alliances not only bolstered his forces, but also provided invaluable insights into local politics and geography. The march towards Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, was fraught with challenges, including resistance from local tribes and dissent within the Spanish ranks. However, the promise of riches and strategic alliances kept Cortés's expedition on track. The first meeting between Cortés and Moctezuma was a spectacle of ceremony and underlying tension. Cortés was received with a cautious hospitality in Tenochtitlan, where he closely observed the Aztec culture and power structure. This initial period of seeming coexistence was, however, short-lived, as it set the stage for the eventual conflict and the fall of the Aztec Empire. In conclusion, the encounter between Cortés and the Aztecs was a complex period marked by diplomatic exchanges, psychological tactics, and the gradual build-up to one of the most significant conquests in the history of the Americas. The impact of this encounter resonated far beyond the immediate conflict, shaping the future of the New World. Hernán Cortés's successful conquest of the Aztec Empire was underpinned by a series of strategic maneuvers that showcased his military acumen and diplomatic skill. These strategies were instrumental in overcoming the formidable challenges he faced and played a critical role in shaping the outcome of this historic encounter. Key to Cortés's strategy was the formation of alliances with various indigenous groups. By aligning with tribes such as the Tlaxcalans, who were enemies of the Aztecs, he not only augmented his military forces, but also he skillfully leveraged the Spaniards' advanced military technology, such as horses, firearms, and armor, to create an aura of invincibility around his forces. This display of technological superiority had a significant psychological impact on the indigenous populations, many of whom had never seen such weaponry. Another aspect of Cortés's strategy was exploiting the Aztecs' beliefs and the existing divisions within their empire. He manipulated the prophecy of the god Quetzalcoatl to his advantage, sowing confusion and fear among the Aztecs. The internal dissent within the Aztec Empire, due to its composition of various states and peoples, further allowed Cortés to weaken their resistance against his incursions. Cortés demonstrated remarkable tactical adaptability throughout the campaign. He was quick to adjust his tactics in response to changing circumstances, which included strategic retreats and regrouping for more effective offensives. This flexibility was a key factor in navigating the complex and often unpredictable landscape of the conquest. Diplomacy was another tool in Cortés's arsenal. He engaged in negotiations with Aztec leaders, including Moctezuma II, using these interactions to gather intelligence and further his military objectives. His diplomatic efforts, coupled with strategic hostage-taking, allowed him to maintain a degree of control within Tenochtitlan and among the Aztec nobility. Lastly, Cortés's effective use of superior military technology played a significant role in many of the Spanish victories. The Spanish forces, though smaller in number, had a technological edge with their steel swords, firearms, and cannons, which proved decisive in several key battles. In summary, Hernán Cortés's conquest of the Aztec Empire was a complex interplay of strategic alliances, psychological warfare, exploitation of beliefs and divisions, tactical adaptability, diplomacy, and technological superiority. These strategic maneuvers were crucial in overcoming the odds and led to the dramatic fall of one of the most powerful empires in the Americas. The fall of Tenochtitlan in 1521 stands as a defining moment in the history of the Americas, symbolizing the end of the Aztec Empire and the beginning of Spanish dominance. This climactic event was the result of a combination of military strategy, disease, and alliances, culminating in a dramatic and transformative siege. The Siege of Tenochtitlan, led by Hernán Cortés, was a grueling and prolonged engagement. Cortés, with his Spanish forces and a large contingent of indigenous allies, encircled the Aztec capital, cutting off its supplies and access to fresh water. This blockade, coupled with fierce combat, inflicted immense hardship on the inhabitants of Tenochtitlan. A critical and unforeseen ally in Cortés's campaign was the smallpox epidemic. The disease, introduced by the Europeans, ravaged the indigenous population, who had no immunity to it. The impact of smallpox was devastating, significantly weakening the Aztec resistance by causing widespread death and despair, including among their leaders and warriors. Cortés's military tactics played a crucial role in the siege. He effectively utilized firearms and cannons and notably constructed brigantines to control the waters of Lake Texcoco. These tactics, combined with the efforts of his indigenous allies, gave Cortés a decisive advantage. The indigenous allies, many of whom had grievances against Aztec rule, were instrumental in the siege, providing manpower and local knowledge essential for the campaign. The final assault on Tenochtitlan was a brutal affair. The Spaniards and their allies engaged in intense urban warfare, fighting their way through the city's streets and buildings. Despite the Aztecs' valiant resistance, they were ultimately overwhelmed by the combined forces of the Spaniards and their indigenous allies, along with the debilitating effects of disease and starvation. The aftermath of the conquest was transformative. Tenochtitlan, once the magnificent capital of the Aztec Empire, lay in ruins. In its place, the Spaniards established Mexico City, reshaping the region's cultural, social, and political landscape. The fall of Tenochtitlan marked not just the end of a powerful empire, but also the beginning of a new era characterized by Spanish colonial rule and the profound reshaping of the indigenous cultures, societies, and histories of the Americas. In summary, the fall of Tenochtitlan was a complex and multifaceted event that marked a significant turning point in the history of the New World. It was a convergence of military strategy, alliance building, and the devastating impact of European diseases, resulting in a profound shift in the region's trajectory. The conquest of the Aztec Empire by Hernán Cortés had profound and enduring consequences, reshaping the New World and leaving an indelible mark on global history. This momentous event signified far more than the fall of an empire. It ushered in a new era characterized by dramatic shifts in culture, society, and global dynamics. The immediate aftermath saw the dismantling of the Aztec Empire, paving the way for Spanish colonial rule. This transition fundamentally altered the region's political and social structures as Spanish laws, language, and culture began to supplant indigenous traditions. The imposition of Christianity played a central role in this cultural transformation, leading to the erosion and, in some cases, complete loss of indigenous religious practices and beliefs. However, this cultural exchange also gave rise to a unique syncretic blend of Spanish and indigenous cultures. Economically, the conquest initiated a period of significant exploitation of the region's resources. Systems like the encomienda were established, subjecting the indigenous population to forced labor in mines and plantations. This not only transformed the economic landscape but also restructured the social hierarchy, entrenching divisions based on racial and cultural lines. One of the most tragic consequences of the conquest was the catastrophic decline in the indigenous population. This demographic collapse was largely due to the introduction of European diseases such as smallpox, which decimated populations that had no immunity to such illnesses. The combined effects of disease, warfare, and oppressive colonial policies resulted in a staggering loss of life and a profound alteration of the demographic landscape. The conquest also played a pivotal role in the Columbian Exchange, the extensive transfer of plants, animals, people, and culture between the Americas and the Old World. This exchange had far-reaching implications, influencing the ecological, agricultural, and cultural development of both continents. The legacy of the conquest is complex and continues to resonate today. It marked the beginning of European influence in the Americas and the integration of the New World into the global economy and politics. The cultural, social, and political changes that ensued have deeply influenced the identity and history of the Americas, creating a legacy that reflects both the richness of cultural convergence and the harsh realities of colonialism. In conclusion, the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire was a watershed event with consequences that extended well beyond the immediate destruction and subjugation of an empire. Its impact was global, setting in motion changes that would shape the future of the Americas and the world at large.